In today's video, we're going to change the way you control your stream audio forever by showing you how to control multiple audio tracks using just your Stream Deck. This is going to include increasing and decreasing volumes, muting specific channels, and also taking full control of your microphone, muting it for in just your video game chat and also on your stream. Strap in for this one, guys, because it's going to be a bit of a technical one, but I'm going to be there to walk you through step by step, and I'll be paying close attention down to the comments below, so if you've got any questions, leave them down there and I'll make sure I get back to you. Let's get into it. Hi guys, my name's Craig, otherwise known as the BigFriendlyGamer online. I'm a content creator here on YouTube, focused mainly on the technology and software that we use to run a successful live stream. I'm also a streamer over at twitch.tv/BigFriendlyGamer_. Links for that will be on screen and down in the description below if you want to check it out. Today we're going to run through the entire process of setting up your Stream Deck to be able to control all of your audio that you use on your live stream. Personally, since I figured this out and set it up for myself, it's been an absolute godsend. Being able to mute any channel that I want, being able to increase and decrease volumes on the fly, both for in my own headset and on stream. It's something that once you go there, you can't live without. Also, as a little added bonus, I figured out a way to make it so that with a push of the button on your Stream Deck, you can actually switch the audio from your ears over to your monitor or your external speakers and back again. No more messing around with all those pesky Windows settings. It's just one press of a button, but we'll get back to that later in the video. Now, before we get into this video, I do need to ask you guys something, so just follow me. What else have you guys implemented for your Stream Decks to help you out with your streams? I'm interested to know. Why don't you just sound off in the comments down below, share some ideas around, maybe you'll learn something you could implement on your own stream. Who knows? Anyways, let's get back to the video. Okay. So there's obviously going to be a few pieces of software that we're going to need in order to set this up, as well as, well, a Stream Deck of some sort, obviously. The first thing you're going to need to do is go down to the first link in the description, which will be a link to a piece of software called Voicemeeter Potato. This is like a virtual mixing deck. What this software actually allows us to do is it allows us to virtually route our audio through our PC into specific output devices. And you can even put it into multiple output devices at the same time. So I can have it coming out of my headphones and my monitor at the same time without having to just select one or the other in Windows settings. Now, this is a donation piece of software, but you can download it for free. The only limitation, if I remember correctly, is that a pop-up comes up and you have to wait 10 seconds for the audio driver to kick in every time you boot up your machine. It's not that much of a pain, but I highly recommend supporting the software so it can get developed further. It's only $10 for the lowest level of license, and it doesn't cut out any of the features. So what I'd suggest you do is start off with the free version. If you find it useful and the solution ends up working for you, and it becomes annoying that you have to wait 10 seconds every time your computer loads up, consider donating to the software developers, because this is a really powerful tool for us streamers, and it's just nice to give them something back. Once you're downloading this, you'll also want to go down to the second link in the description down below. That will send you over to another part of their website, which is actually to download some virtual audio cables. Now, these are really important because this is actually what makes it possible for you to be able to split the audio that's going into your headset and to what's going out into your stream and control it by the different audio levels. If I'm not mistaken, for the first virtual audio cable, it's actually free to download. For the second two that we need, they come in packs of 2, and you do have to make a $5 donation to get access to these. Again, not an ad. It's just something that's really useful, and if you want to be able to control every audio element that we set up today, you're going to need to do it. So maybe watch through the video once to see whether it's worth your while, or skip on down to the part. I'll leave the time codes down in the description below for when we actually get to set it up with the Stream Deck. And if it looks like a solution for you, $5 is worth the investment for your stream. If not, then I don't know what to tell you. Last but not least, then, in terms of software, you'll need to make sure that you've got the Stream Deck software installed. If you've already got a Stream Deck, which I'm presuming you have, if you're watching this video, then you should already have this downloaded. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go into there and install the Voicemeeter, I think it's Voicemeeter by Bar Raider plugin. You can do this by clicking on More Actions at the bottom right of the software, searching the top for Voicemeeter, and then clicking on the Install button. Right, now that we've got all the software requirements out of the way, we'll head on over to the PC and we can start setting this up. So let's head on over. Okay then, guys, so we're on the PC now. What we'll do first, we'll just go through a brief overview of what this software does and the layout of it. If you're already familiar with Voicemeeter, then please feel free to skip onto the next part of the video. The time code will be on screen somewhere. and also listed down in the description below. On the left hand side of the screen then we've got our hardware inputs. This is where you're going to select anything like a microphone or external soundboards if you've got them. Over here in the middle we've got our virtual inputs. This is where we're actually going to route our software through. This will allow you to control the individual volume of the apps that you send to these locations. So for my example, we've got our desktop audio routed through input 1. We've got our Discord and other voice communications channels routed through input 2. And then I've got Google Chrome and my OBS alerts routed through input 3 so that I can control them. And I have just started putting through my music onto this channel as well, but I'm not sure whether I'm going to keep it that way yet. And then over here at the bottom right where it says master selection, this is where we've got our audio output controls. So as you can see, they're labeled down here, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. Those are all of our physical outputs. B1, B2 and B3, those are all of our virtual outputs. And then where we actually select what our hardware output is, that's up here at the top right of the program, where we've got A1 listed as my monitor, A2 listed as my headset, and then A3 through 5 are going to be all of our virtual cables that we've downloaded. So this right here is where we're actually going to choose how to split out our audio and make sure that it goes through to stream and doesn't interfere with our headset. So then the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add our microphone into hardware input 1. To do this, you just need to click on hardware input 1, locate your microphone. For the majority of things, we're going to be using the WDM option. You will see there's a WDM and an MME somewhere there, MME for my microphone. Use the WDM driver because it's the best one for Windows. I believe it hooks into the kernel if you're really interested in that kind of geeky stuff. And then down here for the microphone, this is where we need to route it properly. So we want to turn off all of the A's, because if you put it on A's, you'll hear it in your headset. We're going to take it off of B1 because that's where we're going to leave it as a default master, which captures everything else apart from our microphone, just in case that could be useful to you guys. And then we're going to select it to go through B2 and B3. Now this is important because this is where we use it so that we can mute ourselves differently from our Discord chats and voice chats to when we mute ourselves on stream. Alright, so make sure you click both of those. If for some reason, by the way, you do start having some weird issues with your microphones, it could be worthwhile just trying the MME driver just in case your microphone for whatever reason isn't compatible with the WDM driver. But I've never had that issue with my microphone, which is a Blue Yeti. Once we've set up the outputs for our microphone, we then need to go into the Windows sound settings by right clicking on the speaker down here and click on Open Sound Settings. You'll then get this screen, which most of you are probably familiar with. We need to set the input device to be this particular input device here, Voicemeeter Valve 3 output. Don't get confused about why they're all inputs and outputs. It works a bit backwards. You have to have an output going to an input and an input going to an output, just like you're going into a socket if it was a physical device, if that makes sense to you. But yeah, make sure you get that set up and we'll come back to why that's important later on in the video. We can now move on to setting up our hardware output devices. These are found up here in the top right of the screen. So this is going to be our monitor, our headset, and then our virtual audio cables. Selecting the virtual audio cables here is what allows us, as I said earlier, to split out the audio from our headset and control it separately for when it's on stream. So what I've done here, as you can see, is I've chosen my monitor for A1, my headset for A2, and then I've just used the virtual audio cables in order. So I've had to put these on MME driver because they were giving me some weird robotic feedback when I was putting it on WDM. So make sure you choose the MME driver, and if you do have problems, maybe try messing around with them. But this seemed to fix it for me. So for A3 I chose cable input, for A4 I chose cable A input, and then for A5 I chose cable B input. And up here in the top right you can now see which order they're listed in, and that relates directly to which output they relate to. Okay. If you then look down here under the master selection, you can see how these correspond to their given numbers. So A1 here, this would be for our monitor, A2, that would be for our headset, and then A3, A4, and A5 are going to be for our cable input A, and cable input B. Next we need to set up our virtual inputs, which is right here. This is where we choose where we want our software to be routed to, on which specific channel that we can later control through our Stream Deck. So for this, I've chosen to put the Windows default output device to Voicemeeter input 1. So we'll just go through and do that. Right click on our speaker again, open sound settings, and then right here where it says choose your output device, click on it and select Voicemeeter Input. Here you can see where it corresponds to in Voicemeeter. It's called Voicemeeter VAO. VAO? V-A-I-O? VAO? Voicemeeter VAO. Alright, and that then is what is listed as up here, Voicemeeter VAO. So as default, that's going to put all of your audio through to this single channel, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go through our separate pieces of software and split them into Voicemeeter Aux and Voicemeeter VAO 3 as to what we want to be going to those specific channels and have individual control of. So then the next one we're going to be setting up is going to be our Voicemeeter Aux input. I specifically use this one for all of my communications. So that's going to be Discord, TeamSpeak if you use that, and by setting it up this way, it actually makes it so that in games like Call of Duty, you can set it to use your default communications device and it'll actually route the in-game voice chat to come through onto this channel as well. So if someone's been a bit abrupt whilst you're getting heated in a game of COD, you can quickly mute them from stream or from your headset and problem solved. Alright, so to get that done, we're going to need to go again back into Windows Sound Settings. So open that. And we need to set our default communications device now. So if we scroll down here to where it says Sound Control Panel, click on that and you'll get this window pop up. Scroll down to where you can find all of the Voicemeeter settings. And for this one, we need to set it to Voicemeeter Aux Input. Okay, and to do that, you click on it. Where it says Set Default, click on this little down arrow and click on Default Communication Device. Alright, whilst we're in this screen, we might as well set up our default recording devices as well, which will come in later when it comes to routing our microphone through to the different channels. So if you go into recording for this one, we need to go down and set it on Voicemeeter VAO 3 output. So select that, set it to default, and then we can click OK. Again, we'll come back to that later in the video when it comes to setting up our Stream Deck, so we're able to individually mute our microphone for our voice communications channels and our stream. If for whatever reason that doesn't route your teammates' voices through to input 2, most likely in that software it hasn't been set to use the default communications device, so you'll have to go into the individual piece of software and just switch it over to make sure it comes out through Voicemeeter Aux output. So now that we've got virtual input 1 and 2 set up, we're going to go ahead and set up virtual input 3. For this one, we're going to make it so that it captures our music, our Internet Explorer, and the OBS sounds. So things such as your alerts and any other media that comes out of OBS. So in order to do this, instead of going into each application and manually changing the settings there, what you can actually do is if we go back into Windows Sound Settings again. I know we've been in here a lot lately, but don't worry, it's all worth it. If you scroll down and then choose Advanced Sound Options, and it says App Volume Device Preferences. Now what this allows you to do is it allows you to go in and set each individual application's output and input source. Okay, so for some of you it will look like this, where it's got output and input top and bottom. For others, if you scroll out, this is a little bit easier to look at. It spreads it sideways, so you've got clearly this one here is your output device, this one here is your input device. Now as you can see over here, we've only got a few things active at the moment in terms of apps. So we've got OBS there, which is fine because we need to do that one, but we haven't got our Windows Media Player or VLC if you use VLC, and we haven't got our Google Chrome. That's because in this screen it only shows you open applications at any one time, so we need to get those open. Okay, so yep, I can confirm that you do need sound to actually play out of Google Chrome for it to come up into this list. So if it's not showing up, that's probably why. Just go on YouTube, start a video. So realistically, you guys, you're watching this, I'm assuming, on your computer, so it should show up for you. Again, with Windows Media Player, I'm not sure whether that's the same. I'll just open that up. Nope, so with Windows Media Player, all you have to do is open it. You don't have to play any audio out, and it'll show you exactly where the output is routed to. So as you can see here, for my Google Chrome, OBS, and Windows Media Player, I've gone in and selected Voicemeeter VAO 3 input for all of the output devices, and that should now route everything that comes out of those apps into our virtual input 3 over on Voicemeeter. For the final part of setting up our virtual inputs, then we just need to go back onto Voicemeeter and decide where we want these outputs to be routed to. So that's this part down here where we've got all of our A's and B options. So as you can see, I've got all virtual inputs being routed to A1 and A2. That's because this is going to be for our monitor and headset that we set up over here as our hardware outputs. and then go from left to right. On virtual input 1, it's going to A3, virtual input 2, it's going to A4, virtual input 3, it's going to A5. What this is doing is it's routing it through to all of our different virtual cables that we've put in, and that will then in turn let you change the output volume for all of these different cables over here with these sliders, and that's what we're going to use Stream Deck to do. Well then guys, so the good news now is that we've set up all of the things that we need to within Voicemeeter. So let's just do a quick overview of what we've done. We've set up our microphone over here with a little bit of a noise gate on it to get rid of our background noise, and we've routed it through to 2 separate outputs so that we have one output dedicated for our voice chat and one output dedicated to stream. We've then gone through and set up all of our virtual inputs. So we've got one dedicated to our desktop and games. We've got one dedicated to our communications devices and team chat. And then we've got another one dedicated to our alerts, music, and anything else that you want to be included in it. We've then also gone in and selected all 5 of our hardware outputs, 2 for us and 3 for stream. So our monitor, headset, and then 3 virtual audio cables. Just as a final note then guys, before we move away from Voicemeeter and we get on over into putting this into OBS, I have had a little bit of trouble with this coming through a little bit robotic on stream and broken audio. I've done a little bit of experimenting, and as I said earlier, I found that it was to do with the drivers up here on hardware outputs, making sure that we use the MME driver. If that doesn't work for you, I've also had it where if we go into our sound settings and open up our sound control panel again, then messing around with the different frequencies that your virtual audio cables run at seemed to solve the issue. So just as an example here, mine, if you right click on the virtual audio cable, click on properties, click on advanced, then you can see that I've got it set to 24-bit 44.1 kilohertz or 44,100 hertz. That setting seems to work for me. If something goes wrong and you start to sound robotic, this is probably one of the main things to check, as well as the MME drivers. Then just as a preview over on our recording tab, do the same again, click on a cable output, go into properties, and for these ones they come out a little bit different. So this one is running through 2 channel 16-bit 44,100 hertz. For some reason, if you have them both set to 24-bit 44,100 hertz, that's what I found to be my issue. So try setting your playback devices as 24-bit and your recording devices as 16-bit. Only do this if you're actually having issues, otherwise leave them as default, because I think I decided having issues with this when I started playing around with it, so they might default themselves to the correct settings for you. Alright, so the next step that we need to go through then is adding these into one of your scenes. To do this, I've always recommended that don't do it through your default settings within OBS. Don't do it through here on your settings audio tab. I've got all of these disabled. Doing it this way doesn't give you as much granularity and control over the outputs. So what we're going to want to do instead is disable all of those, and down here under sources we're going to click on add, and all of these are going to come up as audio input capture because we're routing them out through a cable output. Okay, so audio input capture, name it whatever you want to name it, we'll just leave it as audio input capture for now. And then the devices that we need to select, so we're going to do one of these for cable output, and then we're going to do this again with audio input capture, that can be left as number 2, and we're going to do it for cable A. This is going to be for our communications, Discord, whatever we put on virtual input 2. And then for the third one, we're going to go through and select cable output B, and that is going to be the audio that comes out of OBS, Google Chrome, and our music. As you can see, all of these have now been added down here into our audio mixer. Now that we've done all of our computer inputs, we now need to go in and add our microphone to the mix. So again, we're going to go add, it's going to be another audio capture, audio input capture. We'll call this one Mic 2, just so that we know what it is. And for this one, we're going to end up selecting Voicemeeter aux output. Okay, now it's very important that you select aux output here. This is what's going to allow us to be able to mute ourselves separately from our teammates on voice chat, and so the stream is still able to hear us. So if we do that, and then if we click on OK, down here now you can see that my microphone's coming in. As always, put your filters back on this, make sure you've got some compression and noise gate, make it sound nice for your stream. You guys should know all about that by now. If not, and you'd like to see a video on it, let me know down in the comments below. I could always do one in the future. Apart from that, guys, that's really it for the OBS setup. There's not really much else to say on it. So now we've got this out of the way, let's head over to Stream Deck, which is what you're all waiting for. Here we are then in the Stream Deck software. If you're watching this video, I'm going to assume that you're already familiar with the software, but if not, we'll go over the briefest overview that we can do. Here on the left is where you've got all of your Stream Deck buttons. On the right, you've got different categories for different actions that are available. If you click on the drop down list, it brings up the actions. What you can do is you can drag and drop, and it puts the button in, and you tell it what you want it to do. Alright, happy? Good, let's move on. So earlier in this video, I told you to go onto your Stream Deck software and add the plugin for Voicemeeter. If you haven't already done so, now's the time to get that done. Again, just a quick overview. You click on more actions down here. It pops up with this window for you. You search for Voicemeeter, and here you'd have a button to press install, and that's it. This will then add the Voicemeeter plugin to your sidebar. It's most likely going to be at the bottom of your sidebar as you've just installed it. If you click on that to expand it, then you'll see all of the settings that we're able to mess with that hook into the Voicemeeter software. Now the name of these can be a little bit confusing, so we're only going to go over the ones that we're using today. This is going to be the mute/unmute and the advanced press/long press button. So while we're going through this, don't bother writing down any of the code that I'm going to give you. I'll make sure that it's in the description below so you can just copy and paste it in. But it's good to just stick with the video so you understand what you're doing just in case something goes wrong. Alright. Anyways, this is the profile that I've set up for my audio mixer on my Stream Deck. As you can see, it's all clearly labeled thanks to the free Stream Deck icon pack from Nerd or Die. If you haven't used it or you haven't got it and you want to make your Stream Deck look more appealing to you, because I know some people have very janky buttons, I'll leave a link to that down in the description for you as well. Hashtag not an ad. So over here on the left, this is where I have all of the controls which mattered for my headset. So this button here, that will mute my desktop for me. This will mute my voice comms. This will mute the Chrome or alerts from OBS. These buttons underneath then, probably pretty self-explanatory. They'll increase or decrease the volume of whichever heading they're sitting under. On the right hand side over here, we then have the volume controls for what goes out on stream. So again, these will mute the options at the top and unmute them, increase and decrease the volume. Alright. Over in the middle here then, we have a little bit of separation between the two sides of our Stream Deck. I've just used this to create some microphone mute buttons for myself. This one here on the left will mute myself in voice chat, and the one on the right will mute myself in stream. And then up on the right hand side here, this is my special button, which allows me to switch my audio outputs seamlessly between my monitor output and my headset output. Let's start off then with this mute button here for my desktop audio. This is a mute/unmute button, so if you drag that in from the Voicemeeter pack, put it on your Stream Deck, and this is where it starts to get a little bit confusing, a little bit technical, guys. So if you do need to, please feel free to pause the video whilst you get it set up and go along with me. Make sure you do everything exactly how I'm telling you to do it, otherwise it can cause you real problems with how this is going to affect your Voicemeeter setup that we've done. So here what we want to do is we want to set the mic type, ignore that it says microphone, to toggle mode. Okay, that's going to allow us to turn it both on and off. We're then going to want to select strip from the strip and bus options. Basically what this does is on Voicemeeter, if we pull that back up for a second, everything from here, so everything to do with your inputs, they all get classed as strips. And then everything from here in your master selection, they'll get counted as buses. There's probably some real technical explanation for that, but I'm not aware of it. So back onto Stream Deck, and then you want to come down to strip/bus number, and we're going to select strip 5. Okay, now what this is doing is basically counting across all of your hardware inputs, and in true computer fashion, it starts at 0. So this here is strip 0, this here is strip 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, which is our desktop, which is what we're trying to mute here, 6, and then 7. Okay, and then if you scroll down further on here, all The only other options that we've got are to change the icon that sits on the button. Normally you'd be able to go through and set this from file, but for some reason for these buttons they're kind of hard coded in, so you have to come down, click on icon, choose user defined, and then go and find what you want to have as your muted image and what you want to have as your unmuted image. Okay, and it allows you to put 2 in there purely so that when, as you can see now on my button, it's showing the desktop and that is my active button. If I click it, it will change to my muted one, just like that. So that then allows me to easily see whether any of my outputs are muted. So now I've got that set up, what we can do is we can actually go back to Voicemeeter and we can just double check that it's working. So here we have desktop audio. If you press that button on your Stream Deck, then you should see down here the mute button will change in accordance to what you're doing on your Stream Deck. Ta-da! Alright, so now that we've got that one working, we need to set up the one for our voice chat or Discord and then the one for Chrome. The good thing about this Stream Deck software is we can actually just click on the button we've just created, press Ctrl C to copy, click on a blank space, Ctrl V, and then we can just change the settings from there. So for this one, we only need to change the strip or bus number. So for this, we'll just increase that by 1. And that should then do it for our communications device, and then we can Control C, Control V again, and we'll change this one to strip number 7, and that should work now for our Chrome devices and our alerts. The next one that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to set up our volume controls. So if we start off with this increase button right here, this is an advanced press / long button. So if we drag that in from the side to create a new button for us. Now this one gets a little bit complicated because you have to put the code in. As I said before, all codes will be left down in the description below, but if you just go through this with me, then you'll understand what we're exactly telling it to do, just in case you want to do a little bit of tweaking to get exactly how you want it to be. For the key press then, this is going to be for every time that you press that button, this is the action that it's going to take. We want it to control strip 5, right? So we're putting in strip, square bracket 5, close square bracket, dot, and then we're going to tell it what metric we want it to change. So in this case, we're going to tell it to change the gain, which is what this is here on Voicemeeter. And then we're going to tell it that we want that gain to be changed by +3. Okay, so it's plus and equal to 3. So I chose to have mine as a step up of 3. I found this to be the most sensible option where you can actually notice it, but it isn't too dramatic. But your mileage may vary. Mess around with that last number as much as you want. Now I chose my volume to increase by 3 decibels for each key press. I found this to kind of be the most sensible option, where you can actually notice that it's changed in volume, but it isn't too dramatic. Your mileage may vary, so feel free to change this to whatever suits you. We can then actually go one step further from this, and if we copy this code here and scroll down a little bit, you'll see that there's an option for long press. And if we paste that into there, what this is actually going to do is it's going to make it so that you can hold down the button on your Stream Deck, and for whatever this long key press time is set to, I've put mine as the minimum. For every amount of time that counts, it will add another step. So if you look at my Voicemeeter here, if I hold down, then you can see that it automatically starts going down in 3 steps. Really, that's just the quality of life thing. You don't have to do it, but it's there. Why not use it? A lot of us are probably used to holding down a button to make volumes continually go down, so it just feels more natural. Now for these ones, the way that we set the icons is just the normal way. So we just need to click on set from file from the drop down, and you can put whatever icon you want on that. It doesn't have 2 states, so it doesn't have to go in through the button itself. Moving on to the decrease volume buttons then. Again, this is another advanced press / long press button from Voicemeeter. What we want to do here is we can again copy our increase volume button and paste it down here, and just make sure that when we go through, we're changing all of the code so that we change the positive equals +3, this part right here, to negative equals 3. And again, make sure you change it on the long press so that it also reads minus equals 3, because believe me, I forgot to do this the first time, and I probably wasted a solid hour of my life trying to figure out what the hell I'd done wrong, where I was pressing decrease my volume and it was actually going up. Now we've got our increase volume and decrease volume set up for our first strip. We can again copy these over into our second and third input slots, going through making sure to change which strip we're targeting. If you've forgotten which is which, then clicking on the mute button above will tell you exactly which number to put in that field. So this one is 6, so you'd come down here, change whatever's in the square brackets to that number, which is 6, and do the same again for the long key press button, and then rinse and repeat this for the -1. So copy the decrease button from here, paste it into the next slot over, and change the strip button to be 6 and 6. And then again, these ones will just be 1 up in value, so change those over to be 7. We can now move over then to the buttons that control the stream volume. Now, I do realise that not all of you are going to have a Stream Deck XL and have all of these buttons available to you. So what I'd actually suggest there is setting up separate folders for a mixer that controls all the audio in your ears, and then a separate one that controls all of the audio for what's going on the stream, just to keep it a little bit tidier. Either that or have a few less channels and you might be able to put it in, I don't know. It's been a while since I've actually used the original Stream Deck, so I can't quite remember how many buttons. Is it 15 buttons? So you'd have this. Either way, put them into separate folders, keep it organised, and hopefully the solution works for you. Let's start here again then with the desktop mute. What we can do again to save ourselves some time is actually copy over our old desktop mute button. So if I just copy that and put it up here, and then all we need to do is we need to change what strip and what bus number it's targeting. Alright, so for this one we're changing it to bus instead of strip, because we're targeting what's going on our output to stream this time rather than our inputs into our headsets. And we're going to change that over to strip to bus number 2, and that will then relate to, if we look down here, we've got our cable input here set as A3. A3 within our master selection would be bus 0, because we started 0 again, 1 and 2, so A3 is bus 2. We can then go on to copy over our increase volume. So for this one, again, all we need to do is change the first part of the code for both the key press and long press to say bus square brackets 2 close square brackets. Same down here for the long key press, and then you can do exactly the same for our volume decrease. Copy that over, and you will just need to change the target to bus 2 and bus 2 again for the long key press. Don't worry guys, we're getting there now. This starts to get really easy because we can literally just start copying and pasting all of these buttons over the top of each other and increasing all of the values by 1. So over here we'll just go through the mute ones because it will be exactly the same bus targets for the increase and decrease volumes. Here for our Discord icon we have bus 3, and then for our Chrome icon we have bus 4. Pause the video now, go through, set all of those up, and then once you're done, come back and we'll move on to setting up our microphone controls. Alright, moving on to setting up our microphones then. Now that we've got all of our controls set up for our headset audio and our stream audio, we'll start off with this one. This button here is just again a mute/unmute button. So if we just drag another mute unmute button over from the Voicemeeter plugin, and then this one we have set up as muting bus 7. That's going to be our very last bus over here, which we routed our microphone to right at the very start of this video. This is going to be the one that we use to mute our voice chat, but make it so that we can still talk to stream. And then we need another mute/unmute button. Drag that in, and this one is going to be set as bus 6. Alright, and this one will stop us from going out onto our stream. So, you know, you're having a private conversation with your missus that you don't want the rest of the world to hear, push that button and it's going to be gone. Alright, finally then guys, just as a little bonus tip, do you remember at the start of this video I told you that there was a way that we don't have to go into our Windows sound options to be able to change whether we have our audio coming out through our monitor or through our headset? Well, that button is this one right here. This one, again, a little bit more technically advanced, but if you copy the code that I leave down in the description below and follow this through, then it should work for you as well. This button has been an absolute lifesaver because, you know, when I'm consuming content in here or going through and editing, I'm constantly flicking between my headset and my monitor. I don't know whether you are as well, but it is super helpful, so definitely one to add to your arsenal. Alright, this one then is a advanced toggle button. So down here in the Voicemeeter plugin, if we just bring that over, what this does is it has two modes. They call them modes, which is basically the toggle states. So for mode 1 then, what we're going to do is we're going to have this code here, which is going to be telling it for bus 0, have the mute set to 0, and 0 in computer terms is off. And then we're going to have a semicolon, which breaks up the command, and then we're going to tell it for bus 1 to have the mute set to 1, which is on. Okay, so that is basically telling in Voicemeeter between our A1 output and our A2 output that we're going to want this one here unmuted, and we're going to want this one here muted. Okay, because if you have both these on at the same time, you'll get audio coming out of both your monitor and your headset at the same time, which is not ideal. I don't think anyone would ever use that unless you may be showing someone something. I don't know. I've never done that myself. And then if we go back into Stream Deck, then we'll scroll down a little bit and it will have this section here that says mode 1 check. Now this is very important to put in. This is basically checking the state of what the mute button is doing and using it as a reference for which toggle we're actually on. So we're going to have in this one bus 1, so it's going to check the audio input for our headset, and it's going to check the mute state of that. Okay, and depending on whether it returns a 1 or a 0, depends on whether we're on mode 1 or mode 2. All right. Then down here we've got mode 2 keypress, and this is basically just going to be reversing what we did in mode 1, which is telling bus 0 to have its mute state set to 1, so it's now muted, and then bus 1 to have its mute state set to 0, so it's now unmuted. Right, and that will now allow you to flick between your monitor being your output and your headset being your output. Absolutely fantastic. All right, so just to do a little example of that, if I go back to Voicemeeter here and you pay attention to the mute buttons down here, then if I press that button, we're currently coming through my headset. If I press it, it'll quickly change over and the audio will be coming out of my monitor. Press it again and we'll flip back around so that it's coming out of my my headset. Super useful. Add it to your arsenal. Trust me, you'll thank me later. All right. So there you go, guys. You have now become absolute masters of controlling your audio for your headset and your stream individually through the power of Stream Deck and Voicemeeter. I do realise that it is a little bit of an inconvenience to have to reach over to your Stream Deck and mute your microphone from there when on your voice chat. So you can actually set up macro buttons within Voicemeeter that will have the same impact. But we're not going to go over that today. This video is already long enough as it is. I've actually been recording now for an hour and 40 minutes to go through this. So if you do want to see how that's done, let me know down in the comments below and we can make it into a future video. That's no problem at all. I'll be paying special attention down there for this video just so that I can get back to you on any queries that you have with this software or any of this setup process that we've gone through today. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. If you want to see what other equipment I use for my live streams, then why not check out this video right here. If you have any questions, issues, or want to just talk further about this, or just tech in general, why not pop by the live stream? The link will be right here on screen and down in the description below. We started doing community nights recently, so it'd be absolutely amazing to see you there. Come by. It's a lot of fun. Why not? What you got to lose? If you found this helpful and you want to see more content like this, please smash that like button and consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss any more videos. I've been the BFG, and until next time, my dudes, remember, stay safe, stay positive, and as always, stay friendly.